Thanks, Danny, for that recap and for the breathing. I think sometimes I forget to do that in the morning. So today we just wanted to delve in a little bit after looking at those stressors is what do we do when our child is having challenging behaviors in the moment? This is a question that our administrators and Danny and I as counselors, we get this a lot from teachers, from parents. How do I support a child in the moment? And so I've got a nifty little acronym here, and we're just going to go through each one a little bit. And so the first one is self-regulate, and that is not for your child, that is for you. And that's why the breathing and examining your stressors was so important from last week. And so you just want to take a minute to pause, especially when you feel that your child is triggering negative behaviors in you or negative feelings. So how am I feeling right now? And what does that mean? And then the most important question is, can I engage with my child in a calm, connected manner? And so the question follows, if you can't do that, then what do you do? And especially now, since most of us are in our homes with our children all the time, it's making space and finding ways to give yourself some space to calm down and regulate before you interact with your child who's having that challenging behavior. And those behaviors may look like yelling or screaming, defiance. They don't want to do what you're asking them to do. And then if you do have someone else in the house with you, if you can't attend to your child in that moment in a calm manner, could you ask someone else to step in? And a lot of times as parents, we see it as a solo job, especially when we're actively parenting our child. But sometimes the best course of action can be to pause, let your child know that you're going to take a break and that you're going to hand off to your partner. Or if you have one of your helpers or your nanny in the house, to say, I'm going to hand this off right now. You're not showing any weakness to your child. You're modeling for them how to deal when you are when you need to calm down. So you're being a model for your child. So that's the first one. The next is exhibiting empathy. And this can prove really difficult for parents as well, is that we want to fix things for our children in the moment. We just want the behavior that they're exhibiting or the feelings that they're having, especially if they're negative, to stop, because we don't like seeing our children in distress. However, sometimes the actions that we take can actually trigger more of that behavior from the child. And so when you're in that spot where you're able to self-regulate and you're able to be calm, you can become an anchor for your child. And that may look like sitting down with your child and not saying anything, holding their hand if they're in a space where they can receive physical comfort or affection from you, being in the same room with them, even if they are having an outburst and finding it really difficult to self-regulate. And then how can I partner with my child in making behavior change in that moment? It may be that you grab you take their hands and you breathe with them. So you're co-regulating, and that's how you're going to support them through to get to a calm place so that you can then address the behavior that's really causing distress for all of you. All right. Assist with regulation. And so this is one of those things when we talk about co-regulation, we know that younger children, and even all the way up into teenhood, sometimes we have to help our child and we have to regulate with them so they can do it by themselves. And so one of the key reminders, and the reason why we always start our parent sessions with take a deep breath, is that your child can only learn a new skill or a new behavior when they are calm. You can only teach that new behavior when you are calm. And so what we know is that a stressed brain, as Danny was talking about last week, can't take in any new information. And so for us as parents, it's being able to say, well, what's the most important thing right now? It's that I help my child calm down. It's not that I force them to do what I want them to do. And we all know that at times getting our children on Zoom for their lessons, to be attending to things at school, even though we're so far away, to be doing regular chores around the house. These different things can be stressors in our house and can cause big reactions. And so as a parent, it's saying, well, what's more important right now is that I help my child calm down, not that they clean up after themselves, not that they get on that Zoom lesson exactly on the right time, but that they are in a calm state so that we can problem solve together. And again, it goes back to, what can I do to help my child regulate? Do they need a cup of water? Do they need to sit with you for a little while? Do they need to do some intense exercise? Do you need to get them up and moving so that they can then calm down? If you're co-regulating with your child and they're meant to be in a lesson or they're meant to be online for some reason, if they can't, once your child is calm, you can always write to the teacher and let them know that this was a really difficult morning or a difficult time. Teachers are very, very understanding of this, and they just want to partner with you as a parent so they can support your children to be accessing the learning. We just don't want Zoom and getting on Zoom to be such a massive, stressful event for your child that it breaks down your ability to support them. And then once everybody's calm, you can teach that new or better skill, a better coping skill. And so what that looks like is, how do you normally teach a skill to your child? You break it down into small, manageable chunks. You scaffold them for success. You do it with them, and then you give them some gradual release so that they can work on that on their own. And that's what it's like across the lifespan, at least until they leave us and they go away to university. So it's really thinking about, in a calm moment, what is the skill that I need to teach my child so that they can manage in that moment? And then working on that when you're both calm together. So in the chat, or even if someone feels that they'd like to raise a hand and ask a question or share either some stressful moments that have arisen, and you don't have to, you can make it really general, or some strategies that you've used to help co-regulate with your child, whether that be sitting with them and just breathing, drinking water, exercise, those different things. And I might call on some of the ESLT as well, because I know that we're all parents and we've experienced a lot of our own trials and tribulations as we work with children in schools. So I'm just going to pause for a minute and see if anyone writes in the chat or if anyone would like to share. Thanks, Danny.
Yeah, so I think definitely a lot of parents have already journeyed through this, but I'm going through it now. And so I've got a 1-year-old that I am stuck in this tiny room with. And what I've noticed these days is she cries a lot right before she goes to bed, because she wants to play, she wants to do different things, and she's having a little meltdown. And I realized that my calmness and how I react really mirrors off of her reaction visually. So if I'm stressed out or if I'm showing too much, then she reinforces that with more crying. But if I'm calm and I talk to her and I help her kind of with my hand, if I'm like kind of doing a rhythm that's slower, she calms down much quicker than if I try to do something else by, for example, like trying to change her attention to something else. And so for me, I realized that it's not necessarily, yes, my baby's upset and I want her to stop crying instantly, but it's also examining how am I going to respond and how am I in that moment. That makes a big difference as well.
Thanks, Danny. I see some nodding heads and some knowing glances. So this week, what we'd like to ask you to do is continue working on last week. And I'm just going to pass over to Danny to talk through the rest of the homework.
Right. So I think acronyms are always powerful because sometimes they help make very difficult concepts very comprehensible and easy to remember and pull out in times and moments. And so trying to recap on what Chris talked about today for your homework for today, try to make a time and space for yourself, because self-care for parents, for you especially, and how you are is critical. Just like with my little story that I shared, just how you are and how children are feeding off of that or learning from you. So try to make the time and try to find a place that where you can take care of yourself. And try to find 1 or 2 tips, whether that's breathing or whether that's journaling or drawing, to calm yourself. Because not all strategies work the same for each individual. So finding something that works for you might be unique and something that's only special for you. So breathing might not be it. So you might have to explore different ways. And so here are some resources that we do want to leave with you. So memo to parents on carers on homeschooling: don't panic and don't feel guilty. I think these both are great resources.